So this is what we did yesterday lightly in your book. And I truly believe this helps. You know, this is a listing of all of the accounts, the trial balance and the adjusted trial balance. Remember, this is the most updated, accurate story. Okay, that is what you will build your financial statements from. It is not going to go well for you on the test if you would build all of your financial statements from the unadjusted. You would have all of it, well, most of it wrong. So the adjusted trial balance is what you build the financial statements from. There is a big divide, and I'm not going to draw straight, I'll try my best, between owner's drawing. Let's see. There we go. Above the line is balance sheet, below the line is income statement, and as you did your adjustments, you have to pull from one of each. And that also helps you build your 3 financial statements. You have to do them in this order: income statement, owner's equity statement, followed by balance sheet. And there's a little number that gets pulled from each as you build down. Yes. It's going to be just like this. Yep, it's going to be this format. Tate asked, is this what the test is going to be like? Yes. You're going to see it unadjusted and adjusted trial balance. You'll do your entries, and then you'll push right through like what we're about to do and build your 3 financial statements. Carrie and I had the discussion yesterday. She likes this holistic approach. It's pretty great, and I assume you all do too. All of a sudden, maybe it was pretty fuzzy in the last week or two as I lectured and we did end the chapter stuff, but then all of a sudden you see it come together and boom, you'll ace the test. That's the plan. That's the hope. All right, so let's begin then with our income statement. If you're looking at what page are we on, it was page 146. And I'm not sure where you are in the workbook. Are your headings in there, as always? Perfect. That's what I have to add to your practice test, so you're not annoyed like I was when I was taking the practice test. So I will get those to you 3rd hour. How many revenues do we have? 2. We have a left and right column. So we're going to use the left column to itemize. And then we'll go ahead and throw the 19,360 over here. Yep, that was the number. Notice where the single rule is. We are pulling these numbers and these account titles from that adjusted trial balance. If we only had one, let's say it was only service revenue, which I think that is the case for your problem B set. Yeah, you only have one. So you could technically skip the word total revenue and just put that service revenue out here on the right. Does that make sense? Am I going to get worried about left and right columns on the test? No, I just think they serve a purpose and they make it a little bit easier for you to learn. The nature of any income statement hopes that your revenue exceed your expenses to pull a net income. In other words, money that the owner gets to keep. So as we go into the next section, it would be titled Expenses. I'd say there's 3 ways to list them: alphabetic order, the order on your trial balance, or in order of their value, biggest to smallest. I would prefer the middle option, in order of how they show up on your trial balance. My answer key tends to put them in order of highest to lowest, but I'm not going to be so nitpicky there on the test. A question that gets brought up, Mrs. Mars, can we abbreviate as a time saver? I don't want to see like SWE or RE or UE. I would be cool with something like salaries and wages expense, rent expense, utility expense. I'd be okay with that, but I will caution you on this. Let's say you're using this as your BPA contest, which I think a couple of you are, if I heard that correctly. they'd probably count all that wrong. So if you want to get in the habit of spelling everything out because you know you're going to use this in something like BPA, spell things out. These are formal financial statements. I am just trying to give you a shortcut in time for a 65-minute time test. Another thing that a BPA test might say, when creating your financial statements, put them in alphabetic order or put them in order of highest to lowest value. I mean, they'd maybe blatantly tell you something like that. Remember, we used the left column to itemize everything and we shoved the total out on the right. The reason we haven't single ruled up here is because we haven't finished our math. There's now a new set of math pertaining to that little equation I wrote. Does our revenue exceed our expenses? Yes. So we have a net income. And at that point, we can double rule. I can't remember who it was. It might have been you, Jenna. Use of dollar signs. I think that was from maybe the last chapter. Maybe. Do we need to be using dollar signs? No, I guess I never do. But no. There again, though, on a BPA test, you maybe get docked. Possibly. They're really nitpicky. You'll notice they put them at the top and the bottom, basically. I've noticed mine's inconsistent, the answer key. So, out of everything you see on that page, which number are you going to highlight? 4575, because that's going to be sucked out of this and brought to our next statement. What's our next statement? I know you can look in your workbook, but next we're going to create an owner's equity statement. Taking a look at what the beginning balance was, add a few things, subtract a few things to have an ending balance. Our first heading is owner's capital, the beginning of the fiscal period. Again, I'd be okay with comma beginning. If I look at owner's capital, what? It says 0. Is this a brand new business? Oh. Everett Company was organized on July 1st. We're doing quarterly financial statements. So since it didn't exist, I don't know if I like that. It said it started with a 0 balance because the company was organized. It was brand new. Same thing with the next one you're going to do. Delgado Advertising was founded, and so it looks like that starts with 0 as well, but I'll confirm that. If that's fuzzy on the test, I'll just probably maybe put a number in there so you know what to use as your beginning. Because I honestly would have put the 22,000 in. What are we going to add? Again, we're using left and right. The owner, since its inception, it just started with a 0 balance. They invested 22 grand into the business, and they get to keep their share of net income that we just highlighted on the other financial statements. Those two equal the total addition of investments. The reason I'm a little bit annoyed with it is 0. I get it. Like we started with 0 and we invested 22,000. I guess I had to read the directions a little bit better. Are we going to subtract anything? Take a look at your adjusted trial balance. I would be okay with it. Like, if you want to do plus, plus, minus. Is there a minus? Okay. Minus the drawing. So like what Jenna's saying is, and this is, when we did the problem or the exercise yesterday, it was just one column, wasn't it? Now all of a sudden they're throwing two columns at you. Again, shame on the people. I would have said 0 plus 22,000 plus 4,575. I wouldn't have even put that in minus. So I'm okay with that even not being there. The reason they did that is because unlike the exercise we did yesterday, there were two things that needed to get itemized first, and then they shoved it over. Boy, oh boy, they keep changing the rules here. So what Jenna asked is, could you have done plus 22 plus 4,575 minus 1,600 out here in the left? I would be okay with that. And then our owner's drawing at the end of the quarter. So the reason we started with July is that's when the business started, and we are doing quarterly reports. So all of July, all of September, or August, all of September. The owner's capital at the end is that forced math, and we would then double rule. Does everyone understand why there were two columns here versus the exercise that we did yesterday? There was only one because of this itemizing that happened. With your highlighter, tell me which number needs to get zipped over to the other financial statement. Owner's capital at the beginning or the end? 24,975 will get teleported to our next and final financial statement. Here you should have two columns. Do you have two columns? Okay, good. Why? You're going to zip through all the assets, and then you're going to see this occur with equipment. We have an equipment value of 18 grand, but we have a contra asset that we know has been building, brewing up, because every month that goes by, we lose a little bit of our value, and it comes in the form of depreciation. So we'd take our cash plus our AR plus supplies plus rent plus our equipment minus its contra asset to be a total asset number of 39,350. That is the number you are trying to get the L plus OE to equal. And because it's A equals L plus OE, you can go ahead and double rule right there. Now, why would this be all screwed up if you were pulling from the unadjusted trial balance? Why would these numbers not be the way they are if you were looking at the wrong columns? It's what they started with. Supplies would have been screwed up. Accumulated depreciation would have been screwed up. Rent would have been screwed up. AR would have been screwed up. The only one that would have probably worked was the equipment value and the cash. Everything else has been used up or kicked, or your car, your equipment loses value a little bit. So everything else has been used up a little bit. Hence the reason why we have this chapter. Adjusting entries are what was used, whether it was prepaid stuff or accrued stuff. Remember, I saw a couple of you get confused here. The word asset, we're looking for total assets. Now our next heading, liabilities and owner's equity. At the very end, we're going to see liabilities. Oh, it's way down there. I got to scroll. Hang on. That liabilities and owner's equity, at the very end, it's going to say total liabilities and owner's equity. But because there's two, we have to kind of itemize them out. Wow, we have a lot of liabilities. Holy moly. I see the words payable, 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 but then remember this unearned rent revenue is one of the liabilities. We owe prepaid rent available to the people who gave us money. We just have to fulfill the work. Now there again, I'd move all of these to the left column and put that total in the right. It's just my solutions. It seems like they're different every time. I don't make these, the authors do. Could you have them all over in the right? Absolutely. Just seems to me the left itemized makes more sense. At this point, and I'll let you, I'm getting a little ahead of you guys. My apologies. The word "and" right here tells me we have another set of accounts to do. At this point, the fruits of your labor are about to pay off, because owner's capital is simply that number that started on the income statement, transposed down to the owner's equity statement, and this is forced. This is pulled from your previous statement. This right here is fruits of your labor, of doing all of the work before. They get to keep a little chunk of their net income. They had some things add to their value. They had some things subtract to their value. And again, it's the fruits of your labor. So liabilities and owner's equity should equal the same thing as your assets. Double ruling below. Sorry, I changed pen colors there. Carry. Because there's more than one, I'd put total liabilities. Had you just done kind of like what they did on equipment, is that kind of what you're saying? Like, had you itemized all of these payables and the unearned rent, and like what they did with equipment, they drew the line and then they put it over here? I'm going to know what you mean. In the grand scheme of it, it makes sense. They're just itemizing it. So I'm so glad you guys are just on top of things, because now you have in-class time to do the B set, and then we also have in-class time for me to show you the solutions. Let's go with, well, you guys will probably be done by about 10 o'clock. Once I see most of you done, I'll show you the answers. And then all we'll have left is a Kahoot and a practice test. So do the B versions of what we just started this